Welcome to Joyride with Expatriates. In this show, we bring a different person every month to talk about their expatriation experiences, how to manage cultural differences, and how to become an effective person while living abroad. Hi, I'm Tatyana Fittipaldi. In this channel, we make videos to help global leaders become more effective, more productive, and improve their leadership, both in business and in life. If that sounds for you, give us a like, subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to hit the bell so that you can be notified when new interviews comes up. Today we have the pleasure of talking to Moon Li. Moon was born in China. She is a senior business consultant with over 10 years of sales and marketing experience in adult education programs and China business consultation. She is a certified positive intelligence coach and helps overwhelmed entrepreneurs and anxious sales professionals to improve their mental fitness and optimize their performance. Moon is married. She currently lives in the UK with her husband. Please join me in welcoming Moon to our show. Moon, thank you so much for joining our show today. Thank you so much.
No problem. It's my pleasure. I've been really looking forward to this.
Oh,
It's
awesome.
really good to
Me
see you again.
So tell me, so let's start by you telling us where did you come from, and when did you what did you do in your original country? Just give us a background from you.
Yeah. So I'm Chinese. I was born in China, in Guangdong province. So I'm Cantonese. I speak Cantonese, Mandarin, and English. And my jobs, I think for most of the part that my work experience has usually been marketing and sales. I was a sales manager for a school, a bilingual school in Shenzhen, where I used to live for about 6 years. And then I moved to work in a business consultation firm. So again, it's about sales and consulting. And about 3 years ago, I decided to become a coach. So I went through a series of trainings. And last year as well, I did some really intensive training on myself. And now I am a consultant / coach. And now I live in the UK. And that's why you're interviewing me.
That's awesome. Yeah. So on that, so tell us a little bit, what drove you to go to a different country, to move from China to the UK?
Well, the direct reason is my husband is British, and because of his family reason, he decided to relocate back to the UK. So we met in China, we got married there, and we were quite happy living there. But then something changed in his family, and he has to basically move back to the UK. And so here I am. The immigration process was actually quite difficult. It took a long time, took much longer than we expected. So that's one of the core reasons. The other thing, but that's a really good question, because on reflection, I realized I love traveling. So I've always been very curious about life outside of China. I love readings. I've read many books that is not the Chinese language. And my major was English in university. So, and I've traveled extensively, like to all the European countries, to America. So yeah, I guess in a sense, it's always like, it almost felt like I'm destined to leave China and maybe go explore the world. Yeah, there's a sense of that.
Yeah, that's fabulous. And you realized your destiny. Now you're living somewhere else. That's great. That's really great. So you talked a little bit about becoming a coach, and I know from our offline conversations that you are, a mental health coach. You help people on, resilience, on setting their mindsets for success. So tell us a little bit how that came about.
Well, I guess the journey of me to become a coach is that I really needed a coach myself. I was going through some really difficult times in 2017. I was very lost and I wasn't sure, what I wanted to do. I wasn't enjoying my job. So all of those things came about, and I was introduced to youth coaches, as a way to find those answers. And it has such a profound impact on me. And I realized that's something I wanted to tap into, because the people that I spoke to, they'd be like, yeah, you'll be a great coach. I'm like, oh, really? So I went through some trainings. My coaching training was with Coactive. They're based in America. They are internationally known. And they're just really amazing curriculums, and I love them. And in terms of mental fitness, that's something originate from when I was reading the book Positive Intelligence. I was reading it just before the pandemic, so early 2020. I just remember reading this book on the flight, from the UK to China. I was going home for Chinese New Year, and when the plane landed in China, COVID-19 became, and at that time it was an epidemic in China, so it hasn't traveled around the world yet. I was reading this book and I realized how important it is for me to really understand how to utilize those informations from the book. Because like you said, it's about resilience. It's really about knowing how we are self-sabotaging on a daily basis, resulting in us not feeling happy, feeling negative, and not being able to cope, when there's like some bad situations happened. And then COVID really hit the ground, and obviously we are in a situation now we're in. So last year I spent all the year just studying positive intelligence and training myself and becoming a certified mental fitness coach. So it is a combination of the circumstances, is raising me to meet this challenge. And also I can see that it really helps my clients, not just to alleviate the situation they're in, but also help them to move forward, whatever, being in the pandemics or not.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. I
I'm very
can imagine
passionate.
that in this COVID situation, people actually might have been very interested in this topic, because it has been such a difficult year for everybody.
Exactly. So yeah, I'm very passionate about it. I always talk about it, with people around me. When I host workshops about mental fitness, I make sure that the people, my friends and their colleagues, I make sure they come, because it's something that we can all pay attention to. And it's almost like a tool, like a resource that you can have, so that when you have, for example, a lot of people lost their job last year. So when that happens to you, you're not affected, being affected in such a negative way. Instead, you will find opportunities and you will find the gift in that horrible situation. So it is really useful. It's quite
practical.
You see things
in a different lens.
Yeah, different perspective. It's important to shift that. So I'm just helping them to realize, for example, what kind of talents and gifts they already have, and make sure that they appreciate they have those things, exactly, to leverage. So I would say it's a work of lifetime, and I'm only like a beginner, but yeah, it's very, very helpful.
That's awesome. And you mentioned, about the culture and you coming from China to the UK. So tell us about that a little bit. So you are a Chinese person that came to the Western world. You're living here now. So I imagine there must be a lot of differences from East and West. So what was your biggest challenge in coming to the Western world and adapting here?
Okay, you might laugh about this. My biggest challenge is not being able to get real good Chinese food.
No, that's very common in expatriates. That's very common.
Because I don't think people know what real Chinese food is. For example, if you grow up in the Chinese takeaway culture, like in the UK, and people always like, oh, I love Chinese food. Like there's a Chinese takeaway next to where I live, and we get it like once a month. And I'm like, that's not Chinese food. That's angle-fried fried stuff that you're eating with orange sauce. So I really miss Chinese food. And I think obviously my family, I am the single child, so it's before COVID, I would go home twice a year. But then because last year, especially now, we're in lockdown, so I haven't been able to visit. So that has been quite difficult. I'm sure it's difficult for my parents as well. Other than that, like I said, I've been really lucky. I've traveled extensively. I've done road trips in Europe. I've been to the UK twice before I moved here. I'm quite familiar with the cultures and the differences, how people live. People have different lifestyle, and I quite enjoy living in Europe. To be honest, I think it's more relaxed in a way than in China, because in China it's just working and 24 hours. I think here people say, oh, it's sunny, let's go to the pub. So I think people find time
so
to.
You see a different mindset. So they're
a huge different mindset.
Oriented, yeah. and in UK you think they can grasp this carpe diem, like let's enjoy it.
Yeah, carpe diem, definitely. Especially in summer, as you know, summer here, the sun doesn't go down until like 10 o'clock, 9:30, 10 o'clock. And British people are obsessed with the sun. So when the sun comes out, it's like a national holiday, and people are like, yeah, let's celebrate. So you see loads of people in the park, and they get together in the pub. Not anymore, not last year, which was sad. But it's not, I'm not talking about celebrating alcoholism and drinking, but it's about spending time together. It's about having fun. Those kind of things, I'm sure, of course, it exists in China, but I think the overall sense is that, it's more relaxed here in a sense.
Interesting. That's so interesting. And I come from Brazil, and I never paid too much attention to sun too, because I had sun all year round. And then when I moved to somewhere where sun is not always present, I can relate
Yep.
to that perfectly.
Exactly.
So let's talk a little bit about the line of work. So you have a very exciting line of work, as we just discussed. And you educate people in regards to the saboteurs. So let's talk a little bit about that. So, talk a little bit about the 9 saboteurs that you talked to me about offline, and just give us a quick crash course on the saboteurs.
Grab your pens and pencils. Pens and notebook. So saboteurs are the self-sabotaging mind patterns. There are actually 10 of them, but the master saboteurs is the judge. So it exists in every single one of us. And the name just tells you what it is. So it's judge, right? So you judge yourself, you judge other people, and then you judge the circumstance, which maybe sometimes we're not aware of. And the other 9 saboteurs are the accomplice. So it works together with the judge. And all of this can be, you can find out who your top saboteurs are. So we all have them, but we might have some of them, with the higher spectrum, some of them in the lower spectrum. So you can find out by doing an assessment. So there's a very quick assessment that you can find out. I think the advantage or the benefits of understanding that is you then realize how you are sabotaging yourself, as the name suggested. Actually, saboteurs, I think the origin of that word is somebody who obscure you, like creating some sort of obstacles in your house, so that you can't basically you can't win the war. So it originates from like in a battle sense. So if you think about this different parts of you that is not working for you, that's working against you, then naturally it creates a lot of conflicts inside yourself. So what we would say that if you feel, for example, angry, or you feel anxious, I dealt with a lot of anxieties in my clients, and a lot of fears. All of these are created by your saboteurs. So it's this voice that is nagging you, like, the world is a scary place,
and we all have those voices, right?
Yeah, so hypervigilant has become so prominent because of COVID, right? So that really triggers the hypervigilance in some of us, which means it's good to be vigilant, it's good to be careful and safeguard. But if it's hyper and you don't have a break, you just constantly feel scared and a lot of self-doubt. It's like, oh, did I wash my hands? Did I wash my hand properly? Do I need to wash my hands again? And but the problem is we might not know how to express those kind of concerns. So we kind of like bear it down and becomes an issue. So not only that it affects us, mental health, it makes us miserable. Also, we're not able to perform in the capacity that we are able to. So this is
people around us too, right?
Oh, absolutely. So imagine you are living with a hypervigilant and they're constantly asking you like, have you wear a mask? Did you wash your hands? It would drive you crazy. So the work of saboteurs is, first of all, you work on your own saboteurs and you understand, okay, why am I behaving like this? Why am I feeling like this? And then, there's a training course, obviously with the coaching sessions that also helps the clients on a specific issue that they're dealing with. And then there's also an app where you can exercise. It's kind of like a mindfulness-based apps that people can use. So it's a whole system. I would say it's not just saboteur is one of them, one element of them. It's a very key element, but actually there's a whole system where we work together.
So for the folks watching us, I am going to leave in the description below the link to the assessment that Moon is talking about. And Moon, you also have a masterclass about the saboteurs. So I'm also going to leave the link to Moon's masterclass. So let me know what you cover in your masterclass.
Yeah, I'm so excited about this because we talked about it as well. So the masterclass is covering all the 10 saboteurs. I'm going to talk about the origins of it, and I will explain in details which one of them, like the characteristic of each saboteurs, how they affect you, the kind of lies that they tell you, and then some really useful tips, some reflections and practical tools that you can walk away from. So if, for example, if you have a controller saboteurs, so what do you do? What kind of questions you should be asking for yourself? And I will also incorporate some of the, the exercise that I talk about, which usually is available in the apps. So I will also talk about those exercises as well. So it will be very informative and also practical.
Great. So yeah, so I'm going to share the link with our audience. So let's expand just a little bit. So you're an expatriate and you are also an entrepreneur through your coaching business. So there's a lot of people like you that sometimes, they might feel overwhelmed having to reinvent themselves in the new country. They have to manage a bunch of things and they have to learn a bunch of things. So tell us a little bit how they can have the right mindset, how they can have the mental fitness to keep being productive, to manage well their time and their performance. Give us some tips.
That is such a good question. You know what? I think a lot of people are too productive nowadays. One thing I realized is around the Christmas time that I was in such a desperate need to have a break, but I wasn't allowing myself, to have any time off. I was working and working. That, as you say, if you're an entrepreneur, there's a million things you want to do, and the work is never done. So what I really learned is you need to allow yourself to rest. Resting is not procrastinating. Resting is not being lazy. Resting is where you can reflect, do some proper reflection, but also, really plan better when you have that kind of energy and the space of the kind of right headspace to do so. So it might sound counterintuitive, but I felt like resting is something that all of us can have a little bit more of. In terms of cultivating resilience, yeah, a lot of the work that I've been doing that I realized as well is self-care. We don't know how to take good care of ourselves. So resting is one of them. I felt like I keep saying the word resting. Maybe I should get a fine if I say that again. So yeah, take care of ourselves. It could be really simple things. For example, drink enough water. And make sure that you have a good diet, a balanced diet, because the food that you eat has a huge impact on your mental health, right? So if you're eating like fried stuff, unhealthy stuff, it will, create stuff,
Impact.
issues, yeah, on your mental health. So the take care of the basic stuff, and then just make sure that you create this resource. I would like to call them a toolbox, so that you can, help yourself with. So for example, your resource, your toolbox might look like talking to somebody that you trust, consulting with somebody that you work with. It could be a coach, it could be a counselor. I know a lot of this kind of service is now free because of COVID, typically in the UK. And journal could be very helpful, expressing yourself, your emotions. Make sure you're not just bottling down in your body, because that really, it affects you negatively.
Yeah.
Exactly. So all of this, I think it sounds almost childish. And sometimes when I talk to my clients and I ask them these kind of questions, they will be like, yeah, I understand it. And then I will ask them, have you done them? Like, for example, have you been eating properly? They're like, well, actually, no.
Actually overlook the power of these things, of how food and resting and keeping a good diet, etc. They overlook how powerful that really is.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So I can tell that that really resonates with you. And so those are so once we take care of the foundations, then we can obviously build on that. And yeah, resting, diet.
And tell me something. So what I noticed from talking to many expatriates is that they see the need of having to prove themselves when they go to a new country, because they don't know anybody, nobody knows them, and basically it's a blank slate, and they have to prove themselves, especially if they want to find work, if they want to integrate in the society, etc. So what do you think people have to develop when they go to a new country, so that they can, become productive members in the society and prove themselves?
Yeah. Yeah, I really like this question. And it just made me think, the situation that, I have been in. And I don't think I ever felt the need to prove myself, but that's maybe because the line of work that I'm doing. And because it's about offering helps, it's about working with other people. But I understand what you're saying. I think it's important for all of us to know that we're good enough, that we are already worthy. And I know it sounds really like cliche, but it's true. I think I work with so many people who are brilliant, but they don't recognize how great they are. It's like they're chasing the next things. And for example, I remember this sales person that I work with, and he just closed like a huge client. And as I was coaching him, I know he's been feeling really anxious and unsure about that. But the day he closed the clients, and then the next day we had a session, and I was like, how do you, that's a great news, how did you celebrate?
Great achievement.
I know, and especially when he has been so worried about it prior to the proposal. And he was like, his expression was very, very blank. And he's like, oh, it's okay. Now I need to worry about the next one. You know what I mean? Like, we are in this incessant chasing of the next, the next high, the next goal.
People it's so important to celebrate, right?
I know. So it's important for us to recognize the good stuff that we already have, that we, our good nature, our ability. Because if you don't know those things, it doesn't matter how much you have achieved. It doesn't matter if you have, even if you have the validation from, for example, your colleagues or even your boss, you don't feel that yourself. You just feel really empty. You're like, well, but compared to John, I still don't have 1 million, or compared to my neighbors, my car is not good enough. I think it's quite important to turn back and say to myself, like, okay, I'm good enough. I've done a really good job. So, make sure that you validate yourself. I think from there, you are in such a better space. You will be happier, and you're not in this like kind of rat race where you're just chasing like something you don't even know what it is. So I
you
don't know if
said,
that answers
yeah,
your
no,
question.
I think you said two important things that I just wanted to highlight. One is the fact that we should celebrate the little things, and we should recognize our self-worth, and also you know, you said something about competition and comparison. Like, people usually see worth in themselves based on comparison, and that's dangerous. And I just wanted to highlight what you just said, because I think it's really important.
Yeah, well, you live in America. That's like
Yeah,
the
true.
homes of
Yeah, depending
comparison.
on where you live, this
Exactly.
comparison syndrome, let's put it this way, it's more prominent for sure. Yeah.
Definitely.
So, okay, so what are some of the resilience tips besides the ones that we talked about, that you can share with people having a hard time now in COVID?
Well, COVID has given us this opportunity to slow down. That's what I noticed in myself as well. I know I keep saying like slowing down, but it's true. Make sure, I would say, make sure that you have time for yourself, just to sit, just to rest. So I don't know if, for example, I don't know if you have the meditation practice, and I know meditation is not for everybody, but something similar, you know, some kind of activity that basically does not engage your mind. You know, it's not so much about thinking, plotting, planning, but it's about, you know, slowing down and reflecting and just breathe. You know, we very often, we are so busy that we forget to breathe, right? So for me personally, I think just having those kind of like the time to either to meditate or to take a walk in nature, where I'm just emptying my mind, I'm just observing the nature, like looking at all the birds. And those times really, really helped me. And they're obviously that, you know, they are very nurturing to my body. And from there, I think you just become just more calmed and more also collective, so that you're not making decision like frantically, but you'll be able to make a decision in such, you know, in such a stance that is beneficial for you.
And let me ask you something. So I also agree, you know, about slowing the mind, and I usually recommend that also to my clients. But sometimes I have some clients that tell me, well, if I meditate, I'm going to, you know, blow up. That will make me even more anxious. So do you have any recommendations for these kind of people, for people that, you know, they are more active, they need something more on the active side to calm their brains?
Well, walking meditation is one of them. But lots of this, for walking meditation is good. I think yoga is quite good as well, because it's like combining bodies and minds. But I do know exactly the types of the people that you were talking about. You know, the one is that I cannot slow down. If I sit, you know, I will just expose. There are actually a lot of different kinds of mindfulness-based activities. So the app that I was talking about and the program that I talk about actually teaches us to do loads of activities and repetitions with our eyes open, with our bodies moving. For example, you can use sounds. If we just listen to the sounds without kind of like evaluating the sounds, what I would typically do is like listen to the furthest sounds, you know, what are you hearing? And then listen to the closest sounds, what you're hearing, and try to just do this activity without analyzing. So it's putting the analytical mind to rest, and do it for like 2 minutes, 5 minutes. You will just feel, it's like a battery, you basically recharge yourself, right? So you will feel calmer. You know, surprisingly, the people who said they can't meditate ever, they can do the sound bit because they're just listening. And then they're like, well, I did realize that, you know, I can hear something that I haven't heard before. And that's quite rewarding to them, because they realize that at that splits of 5 seconds, they're not thinking about their work. They're actually just paying attention to where they are. So yeah, it's all of this is about bringing yourself back to the present moment. So you're not, you know, you're not planning, you're not worrying about what happens yesterday. And Yeah, there's a huge, I think there's so many resources on that
And now
already,
that
but
you're talking about the sound, it came to my
yeah.
mind also, dancing, so coordinated
Oh
dancing.
yeah, yeah,
Sometimes
yeah.
it takes your mind away from thinking and overthinking and makes you, coordinate the movements with
Yeah.
the dance. Tai Chi is another thing that usually is fabulous.
Mm,
Like it's also, at least for me, a meditation in movement. So it's awesome too.
that's
So yeah,
beautiful.
you're right. I think we have so many opportunities and so many different things to explore. We just have to find what works for us, right?
Exactly. Well, I like kickboxing. I think that's maybe not exactly like dancing or Tai Chi, but it is about coordinations. And yeah, you get into the zone, like you get into the zone of, punchings and kicking. And yeah, it's great. So yeah, that's a really good tip. And sounding like a true Brazilian, obviously dancing is number one.
So now we came almost to the end of our session, and so now I'm going to share a card of the locus of control deck with you. And as
Yeah.
I said offline to you, basically the idea is I'm going to share my screen with you. You're going to read the card, and you can tell us anything that comes up in your
Okay.
mind. So let me know if you can
Oh,
see the card. Can
you
you
are the
see it?
master of your mind.
So
Yep.
this is the card.
Uh-huh.
So please read it out loud, and then you can tell me anything that comes to your mind.
Chaos. That is so true. Okay. In terms of the time, I decide how to perceive my reality. I'm in control of my life. Wow. That is so powerful. Okay. Humor is emotional chaos remembered in tranquility. James Thurber. I love it. And the car is so cool. Did you
Thank
design that
you.
yourself?
Yeah, I did.
Wow. Okay. So which part do you want me to talk about?
So tell me anything that comes to your mind when you think about, chaos, as, living the chaos right now. And then what's
Mhm.
going to happen when you remember, when you go in hindsight, you say, oh, when I was going through COVID, or when I was going through
Mm.
9/11, or, it
Mhm.
things that seem so chaotic in the past, but then you remember later on with a different perspective. So tell me
Mhm.
anything that comes to your mind, either a story you have to share, anything that comes to your mind.
Mhm. Um, it's such a good car, isn't it? Chaos. But I think the sentence in the middle also caught my attention. It's about humor, you know, and it's so important for us to have a sense of humor and not to take ourselves and not to take everything so seriously. I think a lot of the issues we have today, either political or pandemic and whatever, is that, everything you look at, we just take it so seriously. It has to be right or wrong. It has to be black and white. And having a sense of humor means that first of all, we don't take ourselves too seriously. We know we are not perfect. We have a lot of things we need to learn, and we have a long way to go. And we can use this time of chaos as the opportunity to grow. I think if we can master that kind of mindset, then we do become more resilient. So instead of looking at time today and just feel dread and scared, we can say, wow, we're here, right? We're in this situation. How can we turn that into an opportunity to grow? And yeah, that's what comes to my mind. Can you send me that card? I love it.
Of course, of course. Moon, thank you so much for sharing your stories, your perspective, your teachings, and I really appreciate you being here with us today. I thank you very, very much.
Oh, my absolute pleasure. And I really love all your questions. It's very useful. I'm sure your audience find all your interviews very useful. And keep up doing the good work that you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Moon. Thank you very
Thank you
much.
for having me. Take care.
Wow, what a joyride! I am amazed how much we covered today. I will leave the links of everything that we covered today in the show in the description below. If you like this video, please share it with your friends, subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to hit the bell so that you can be notified when new podcasts come up. Thank you so much for watching.